Hello and welcome back to another video with me, Robbie, 2E0RDJ. Today I'll be taking you through the audio setup here in the shack, and just talking about a few things, such as the equipment and the way I go about processing my audio. In front of me is the Behringer B1. This is a 1-inch large diaphragm microphone, a condenser microphone, and it's only about £70, fairly cheap. In the grand scheme of microphones, you can spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds. I found this online a couple of years ago and thought I'd give it a go. And surprisingly, it's still here in the shack now. It's probably one of my favourite budget microphones, shall we say. Fantastic sound to it. It really has got some character and doesn't take a great deal of EQing to get it sounding great. Well, I don't think it does anyway. So yeah, the Behringer B1, which is in front of me, I've had for a couple of years, like I said. I run this straight through a small 2-channel interface. You use the Avid Fast Track Duo, sorry. That's right, let's get that right. Fast Track Duo by Avid, and just run that via USB straight into a piece of software then called Reaper. Reaper is a free, I say it's free to evaluate, and then I think it's a small fee of about £20 or £30, something like that. Reaper is a multi-track recording software, similar to the likes of Adobe Audition, I don't know, almost GarageBand, what's the other one? Logic on Mac, isn't it? And there's a few others out there as well. So Reaper is probably considered like the early learning center version of those, but for what it is, I think it's great. It's really powerful. It's VSTs and stuff are pretty good for the money, so that's what I use here in the shack. All I do is use Reaper to do all my processing for all the radios here. So, you know, really can't go wrong with it for what it costs. It's a lot cheaper way than doing it some other ways. So if we go to Reaper, let's take a look. I'll click straight onto FX. I'm recording obviously now via it, so there's a few things that I won't be able to show you whilst we're recording. But as we can see, I've got 3 effects already patched in. So we've got the recompressor, and I'm just using the stock aggressive vocal setup. So it's fantastic. I've not had to tweak with it much. I think I've adjusted the attack and release times. Of course, I've adjusted the threshold. Your threshold always depends how hard you run, you know, your preamps and how loud it is coming into the computer. So shall we say? So I don't run the compressor overly hard. I mean, if I come into it, it's going to be running quite hard now, and this is probably where I talk when I'm on the radio. But for my YouTube videos, I tend to stand away a little bit from the microphone. A, so you guys can see me better on the camera, and B, just so the microphone isn't in my face. So that's the compressor. I then run a tiny bit of EQ. And as you can see, I've got a high pass filter, a low pass filter. A bit on at about 150 hertz. I think it's about 6.5 dB, with a scoop taken out around 500 hertz, and then a bit more at 3K just to give me a bit more definition in my speech. So not a great deal of EQing. Just had to add quite a bit of low end in to make my voice sound nice and warm, if that makes sense. Well, that's what I thought. I'm sure you guys probably tell me if it does sound rubbish and sound different, but that's what we're running here. I've then got a gate, which is purely here just so when I'm on the radio and, you know, if there's stuff happening in the background, and the plan originally was that I'd run Vox, but we'll get onto that in a moment. So the gate that I'm running is just a stock snare gate, which is designed for a snare drum, part of a drum kit, obviously. I think I've adjusted the attack and release times a little bit, but it's not a million miles away. Again, with the threshold, you're going to adjust that depending how hard you're running your preamps on the input of your microphone. So at the moment I'm at minus 35.6. You may want it at minus 20. You may want it at minus 50. I don't know. Until you try these things, you won't know what you're going to require. So for me, the ambient noise in the shack with the way I've got the preamps at is about, I don't know, minus 50 or something like that. So, you know, it's never going to pick up any background noise. It's going to cut off way before that. So I'm quite lucky in that aspect of things. And now the way I go about routing this to the radio, because I'm running the 7300 here in the shack now, I can just send my audio straight into the 7300 via USB, which not that many people know about. So just go into preferences, and under device, we can't see it now because I'm recording, but if you've got your 7300, if you've got an IC 7300 and it's plugged into your computer, you can just literally go to somewhere like in this device page, it'll be like output, select the IC 7300 as the speakers essentially, and you'll be able to send your microphone or whatever you're hearing in Reaper, as long as you've got the track recorded, as long as you've got the track armed for recording, it'll come through at the radio. The only downside to this is you can't use Vox on the 7300. You can't do any processing, so any compression, anything like that you would usually do on the radio. The EQ as well that the 7300 has built in, you can't use. You need to do all of that inside of Reaper. Don't forget, when you're running the 7300 via USB, the only way you can get audio into it if it's in SSB data mode. So make sure you've got data mode selected. And just keep an eye on your ALC. Make sure you're not overdriving the radio or even underdriving it. Keep an eye on your ALC. Get it all set up. Spend your time doing it. It took me a little while to get it right. But I'm pretty chuffed with how it sounds on HF now. So that's that anyway. Things I am looking to move on to now is I'm probably going to move away from doing it all via USB. You know, every time I walk into the track, I've got to open Reaper. I've got to wait for it to get set up. And I want to be able to use Vox, and the only way I can transmit at the moment on the 7300 is to press the transmit button on the front of the radio, or via a foot switch, or via the cat control on the computer. So the next way I'm thinking of doing it, because I'd quite like to use Vox, I think that seems to be the way to go, and a lot of other hams are now doing that, is I'm going to probably get a little Behringer X-Air, which is a small digital mixer essentially. They're not very big, sort of just over a foot long. I'm probably going to get the XR18, which is the biggest, but there's a 12, a 16, and an 18. So everything will be done physically via audio then, and all I'll be using the computer for is just adjusting the levels, just using it as a surface essentially to control the levels. But for now, this is how I'm running things, and I know you guys have been asking. I thought I'd do a little video and just give you an insight to how we run the audio here. I think that's pretty much it on that note. So if you have liked, please give this video a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, somewhere along the bottom, probably that way, is a subscribe button. Give us a subscribe and you get a notification or an email or whatever the next time I post a video. So thanks for visiting, and hope to catch you again soon.